Layton Croft here. It's a gorgeous June afternoon here at the former Brewer Gold Mine in Chesterfield County, South Carolina. I just wanted to do a video and give an update on where things have been and where things are going with the Brewer Gold-Copper Project that we are working on in partnership with Oceana Gold Corporation. So recently we issued the results for hole 38. Hole 38 is the second of the 3 deep drill holes that we drilled starting in January of this year in partnership with Oceana Gold. Recently, we had a visit for 3 full days in the field here at Brewer by Dr. Richard Sillitoe, along with geologists from both Oceana Gold and, of course, Carolina Rush. It was a very productive visit. Dr. Sillitoe is known for his expertise and knowledge of copper porphyry systems literally all over the world. For many, many decades now, he's been an independent consultant and he's published many papers. We've been very fortunate to have Dr. Sillitoe come to Brewer. I think this is his 4th visit in the past 3 years. And it's helpful to have fresh eyes, especially eyes as expert as his, looking at literally every piece of core in at least 2 of our 3 deep holes. He looked at all 3 holes, and particularly he looked at holes 37 and 38. Now, we have released the results for both holes 37 and 38, so wanted to talk a little bit about some of the highlights that we've seen that we talked about in our news releases and that Dr. Sillitoe helped us sort of hone in on. I wanted to kind of zoom out a little bit and take a moment to discuss what we've learned from our first 2 deep drill holes and why we believe these results represent an important step forward for the project. When we began this drilling program, our objective wasn't simply to intersect high grades. It was to answer a much bigger geological question. Does Brewer host the type of large copper gold system that includes a mineralized porphyry deposit? So if yes, where is that porphyry deposit? How well mineralized or how high grade or low grade is it? And how deep is it, which is part of where is it? The results from holes 37 and 38 have significantly advanced our understanding of this question and of this topic. Hole 37 confirmed that Brewer hosts a very large hydrothermal system extending to depths of more than 1 kilometer with alteration zonation, B-type veining, and chalcopyrite mineralization consistent with a magmatic hydrothermal environment. Hole 38 then took that understanding another step forward by intersecting copper-gold mineralization below Brewer's lithocap within a newly recognized chlorite and minor potassic alteration zone. This is an important geological setting in porphyry systems. Together, these results continue to strengthen our interpretation that Brewer represents a southeast tilted porphyry system with the most prospective target to the northwest of the former mine. As we've emphasized in our news releases, this target remains conceptual and requires additional drilling. Okay, so just to recap, we have issued news releases over the past weeks. Starting on May the 4th, 2026, we issued the results for hole 37, which was the first of the 3 deep holes we've drilled in partnership with Oceana Gold. On June 5th, we issued a news release regarding our annual general meeting and announcing our new board of directors. Then on June 25th, 2026, we issued the results for hole 38, the second of those 3 deep holes. Results are still pending for the 3rd, hole 39, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights. So in my words, if hole 37 was encouraging from a porphyry exploration perspective, hole 38 is exciting. In hole 37, we saw a lot of smoke, which we talked about in that May 4th news release. We saw chalcopyrite over, not a lot, but over an extensive width. We saw chalcopyrite. We saw B-type veins and we saw different alteration zonation. So this is the smoke I'm talking about. If you look closely, and there's a lot of technical information in it, in our June 25th news release, which we issued after Dr. Sillitoe's visit to Brewer, there is not only smoke, but it's getting hot. So we're getting closer and closer, and this is exploration. It's systematic, it's step by step. And if you could think of each of these news releases as a chapter in the unfolding story, what this is telling us in terms of our exploration for the copper gold porphyry source of the mineralization at the Brewer system, we are learning useful and valuable information, and each hole is taking us closer to our target. So it's a positive step in the right direction. Finally, I would just like to highlight this most recent news release. The figures in here, I think, are really useful for those of us like myself who are not trained geologists. This news release is very technical in nature because that's, to us, essential. The technical details matter in exploration, especially for a target like the Brewer porphyry. So if you look at figure 1, it's a plan map showing you where hole 38 and also 37 and 39 were collared. Figure 2 and figure 4, I think, are especially useful for both the non-technical reader and the technical reader. On figure 2, this is showing our geologic model's thesis that the system is tilted. It's laying on its side almost. And that's important because if there is a porphyry deposit that's mineralized, it may not be as deep as it would if the system were vertically intact. So only drilling will let us know what the truth is there. But so far, it looks as if the system is tilted and trending to the northwest and laying relatively flatly. I would also draw your attention in figure 2 to the hole 38 on the sort of right side of the figure. You'll see 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I talked earlier about the importance of this hole being that we intercepted copper gold mineralization below the lithocap. When you're exploring for a porphyry deposit, it is essential that you get below or beyond the lithocap because that's where the porphyry deposit, if it exists, is going to be. And so for the first time, we went outside of the lithocap, beyond the lithocap, and guess what? We found copper gold mineralization. And moreover, we found it in potassic chlorite biotite alteration with A veins. This is all important and this is all encouraging. If you look on those 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you see in the bottom left of the figure itself in the dark green, each of those numbers is associated with intervals of copper mineralization and gold mineralization. And as you can see, as you go down from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4, the concentration or the level of mineralization gets higher. So the deeper we get in this particular hole, the more copper and more gold we're seeing. What's important is in number 4 on the figure is in that sort of mauve color, which in the legend correlates to that potassic chlorite biotite alteration. And that is maybe the most significant thing on the figure. And that is the highest grade of copper gold mineralization. It is 60 meters at 681 ppm copper and 0.24 grams per ton gold. Again, our thesis here is that the key isn't going deeper at this point. It's stepping out to the northwest or west-northwest because of the nature of the tilted system. On that point, I would direct your attention to figure 4. Figure 4, we have both an A version and a B version. Now remember, these are cartoons, so they're not intended to be precise or exact. They're intended to be conceptual. And these are modified from, in fact, a seminal paper published by Dr. Richard Sillitoe in 2010 called Copper porphyry systems. And A of figure 4 is the sort of classic vertically intact cartoon of a porphyry system. B is our Brewer model interpreted where the system is tilted. It's sort of lying on its side. So you can see within each of these A and B figures, there's a dotted black circle with a number, 1 and 2. Our interpretation is that the number 1 represents the known gold copper mineralization at Brewer near surface, which was mined going back 200 plus years, and more recently in the oxide heap leach open pit mine in the 1980s and 90s. Number 2 in the black circle lower is indicative of what we just found in hole 38. It shows where we think we are in the system. And there's a transition zone, as you can see in this cartoon, from the chlorite sericite. If you go down on figure 4A, it goes down into that potassic zone. Well, hole 38 intersected both the chlorite sericite and what we think is minor potassic alteration. So we're right there, we think, on the margin of where we need to be, where we want to be in that potassic zone. The potassic alteration is what hosts porphyry deposits. So we're getting closer and closer. On figure 4B, you'll see when it's tilted, that's exactly where 38 hit. So the key would be to step out to in this case, if you're looking at the figure, to the right, to help hopefully target and intersect mineralized copper gold mineralization within potassic alteration. One of the most encouraging developments since completing the initial 3-hole drill program was the opportunity to host internationally recognized porphyry expert Dr. Richard Sillitoe at Brewer. After reviewing the drill core alongside geologists from Carolina Rush and Oceana Gold, Dr. Sillitoe's independent assessment supports our geological model that's been developing over the recent years. That is important because multiple independent lines of geological evidence are now pointing us toward the same exploration target, which remains untested. So we must keep drilling. We're also looking forward to finalizing our analysis of the assay results from hole 39, the third and final hole of this campaign. Once we've got all those assays and geochemistry and all the data points that we will integrate into our existing and evolving geological model, which will define and steer us to our next steps in exploration. And again, that is how major discoveries are made, by systematically building geological understanding and using each drill hole to improve on the previous one and to advance the story and advance our understanding and our vectoring toward our target. So that's a lot of information, and we're very encouraged by what we're seeing. We're excited to put all of this together and soon issue the results for hole 39, the third of the 3 deep holes. And we will continue to provide information to you as we continue this journey of exploration at the Brewer Gold-Copper Project in Chesterfield County, South Carolina. That is all for now.